You know what's fascinating about markets? Everyone sees the same data, reads the same headlines, but nobody connects the dots until it's too late. In 2005, I saw the housing market was a house of cards. Everyone called me crazy. In 2008, I was right and millions lost everything. Now, I'm watching it happen again, different weapon, same destruction, January 2025. The government just implemented the largest hidden tax increase in modern history, and most Americans are walking around like nothing happened. They're about to get obliterated, and they don't even see it coming. It's called a tariff. And if you think China's paying for it, you've already lost. Let me show you how this works, because apparently nobody else will. Picture this, a shipping container leaves Shanghai packed with 10,000 smartphones. Each phone costs $300 to manufacture. The ship crosses the Pacific. 2 weeks later, Los Angeles. U.S. Customs steps in, that'll be 145%. So the American company just paid U.S. Customs an extra $435 per phone. That's $4.35 million for one container. Now here's the part that should make your blood run cold. Who just got that money? The U.S. Treasury, not China. China already got their $300 before the ship even left port. The tariff is a tax paid by Americans to the American government. China doesn't pay a cent. This isn't too complex. This is arithmetic. But somehow everyone's pretending it's something else. That American company that just paid $735 per phone instead of $300, they're not absorbing that cost. They're not a charity. They pass it to you. That $999 phone now costs $1,499. You're standing there thinking, why is everything so expensive? Inflation? No. This is a tariff. This is a tax. You're paying that nobody called a tax. I've spent my career finding mispriced risk, looking at what everyone else ignores, and right now, everyone's ignoring the biggest mispricing in the economy. The Tax Foundation estimates these tariffs will cost the average household between $1,100 and $1,400 annually. Penn Wharton's budget model projects a middle-income household faces a $58,000 lifetime loss. Still think this is political? The Tax Foundation is a conservative, pro-business think tank, and even they're saying tariffs are taxes on American consumers. The Peterson Institute confirms American importers pay the tariff and pass costs to U.S. buyers. 16 Nobel Prize-winning economists warned these tariffs risk reigniting inflation and undermining economic growth. 16 people who wrote the textbooks. But here's what really tells you where this is headed. By September 2025, the government was collecting over $30 billion per month in tariff revenue, up from under $10 billion in 2024. Sounds huge, right? The Congressional Budget Office projected the federal deficit for 2025 would be $1.9 trillion. Tariff revenues totaled $149 billion, just 8% of the projected deficit. Let me translate. These tariffs making your life more expensive aren't even making a dent, but it gets worse. And this is where most people stop thinking. When tariffs make everything expensive, people buy less. Businesses earn less, they pay less corporate tax. Households have less income, pay less income tax. The Treasury collects tariff revenue, but loses revenue from income and corporate taxes because the economy slows. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. I learned a long time ago, when the math doesn't work, the trade doesn't work. This math doesn't work. According to JP Morgan's analysis, when you apply these tariff rates to roughly $2.5 trillion in annual imports, you're looking at hundreds of billions in extra costs. The Tax Foundation calculates $1,100 to $1,400 per household annually. But here's what nobody's talking about. Companies don't just pass along the tariff amount, they use it as cover to raise prices even more. If costs rise 20% due to tariffs, they raise prices 30 or 35%, blame tariffs, and pocket the difference. It's called price masking. It happened during COVID. It's happening now. Consumer spending makes up 70% of the U.S. economy. When that extra $1,400 per household goes to tariffs instead of restaurants, vacations, or home improvements, the entire economy feels it. Consumer confidence has dropped sharply. JP Morgan raised recession probabilities to 60%. But Michael, what about the jobs these tariffs protect? Manufacturing job growth since the tariff expansions? Minimal. And in some sectors, negative. Economists estimate it costs American consumers over $900,000 to save one manufacturing job through tariffs. $900,000 per job. You know what would be cheaper? Just pay that worker $100,000 a year directly. You'd still save $800,000. This isn't to economic policy. This is economic illiteracy. Here's where this gets really dangerous and why I'm not sleeping well. In a normal recession, the economy shrinks and prices fall. But with these tariffs, we have an economy slowing down and prices rising simultaneously. That's stagflation, the worst possible combination. The last time America experienced severe stagflation was the 1970s. Gas lines, double-digit unemployment, 13% inflation, interest rates above 15%. It took nearly a decade to recover. I see the same pattern forming now. Inflation, which had finally cooled, is being pushed upward again. Economic growth is slowing. The Federal Reserve is stuck. They can't lower rates because inflation would worsen. They can't raise rates because the slowdown would worsen. They're boxed in. We're trapped. And nobody's talking about it. This reminds me of something, 1930, the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. They raised tariffs on over 20,000 imported products to protect American jobs. The result? It made the Great Depression worse. Global trade collapsed by 65%. Unemployment hit 25%. Other nations retaliated. The entire global economy entered a death spiral. Economists have studied Smoot-Hawley for nearly a century. The consensus is clear, one of the worst economic policy errors in U.S. history. Today's tariff levels are the highest since that era. We're repeating the same mistake in a larger, more interconnected global economy. The University of Chicago surveyed leading economists across political perspectives. They asked, do tariffs on imported materials improve Americans' economic welfare? 0% said yes. 0. This isn't political, this is math. Following major tariff announcements earlier this year, the S&P 500 lost over $2.4 trillion in value in a single day. The biggest one-day loss since March 2020. But Michael, I don't own stocks. Your pension fund does. Your retirement account does. Your savings are tied to the market whether you like it or not. Markets are smarter than politicians. They see what's coming. And right now they're screaming warning signs that most people are ignoring. Combine all of this, falling consumer spending, rising unemployment risk, stagflation pressure, stock market instability, widening deficit, you get systemic risk, a fragile financial system, banks under stress, credit tightening, businesses unable to get loans. Sound familiar? It should. That's 2008. And just like 2008, everyone's telling you everything's fine. The fundamentals are strong. Don't worry. I've heard that before, right before everything collapsed. Other countries don't just sit there. China announced tariffs as high as 125% on U.S. goods. Mexico and Canada prepared retaliation packages. The European Union drafted targeted tariff lists. American farmers lose export markets. American manufacturers lose buyers abroad. American workers lose jobs as foreign demand collapses. This is what happens when you start a trade war. Everyone loses, especially us. Here's what kills me about this whole thing. The people who suffer most are the exact people these policies were supposed to help. Working class households, manufacturing towns, farmers, small businesses. They'll pay more for everything. They'll lose jobs when businesses cut costs. They'll watch their savings evaporate if markets drop. All because of a policy marketed as economic protection. I've built my career on seeing what others don't, on betting against conventional wisdom when the math tells a different story, on being early, being right, and being called crazy until proven correct. Right now, in watching the dominoes fall. The data is screaming the math doesn't work. The historical precedent is clear. The expert consensus is unanimous, and everyone's ignoring it. In 2005, I was early, then I was right, and millions lost everything anyway because they didn't listen. So here's my question for you. How bad does this have to get before someone reverses course? Because from where EM's sitting, we're already past the point of no return. The chain reaction has started. The only question now is how far it goes, and history suggests pretty damn far. The market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. But eventually, math wins. Economics wins, reality wins. And when it does, it's not going to be pretty. I've been wrong before. I hope I'm wrong now. But I don't think I am.